Welcome to our village, where friendship actually is magic. Here on V'ger Please, if I'll visit to Bajor, my name is Joseph.
I'm your co-host, Peter.
Peter, you didn't have a pithy little intro to start?
Well, normally I got more time to think about these things, but I just watched the episode like 20 minutes ago, so I'm still processing.
Same. We're jamming it in here.
Off our normal track here.
I did want to maybe, before we talk about the episode, talk about Trek as a whole, because we haven't delved into that too much since we observed that putrid Section 31 trailer.
Hey, I already forgot about that.
Sorry to keep reminding you.
Mm-hmm.
But something that did happen was there was a major acquisition. Paramount, in fact, was bought by Skydance. So all of this, Star Trek included, and everything else that Paramount owned, is now under new management, potentially more sane management.
How could it be any worse?
Right. And at the same time, there seems to be a rush to try and get a few more things going on the Kurtzman Trek side that seemed horrifically doomed to failure.
We've been talking about this for years at this point, the potential acquisition by Skydance and or Sony, and would Star Trek be a part of it? And what is Alex Kurtzman role in this new entity going to be going forward? Why is Alex Kurtzman and J.J. Abrams able to exert the level of control they have over the Star Trek IP? And that's a byproduct of Les Moonves and a very sloppy exit from Paramount when he was chief operating officer. And getting into it with Sherry Redstone, who seemed like she's a real nutbag.
Born rich type of person with no actual skills to do anything. The story of the acquisition process with Skydance sounds like it was horrific to deal with because of her specifically.
And it ties back with Les Moonves, because I want to say he fell out of favor with Sherry Redstone because he opposed external acquisition. Whatever his stance was, it's ironic because that's what she ended up mimicking through this negotiation process. The money was fronted. Oracle, right? It's the son of Oracle.
Oh yes, the guy who runs Skydance is Larry David. No, that's the guy from Seinfeld. I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name precisely, but
rich enough to buy islands, but not scandalous enough that us plebes are able to just pluck his name out of thin air.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Skydance has some big wins under its belt. This guy sees opportunity. There's a studio circling the drain. Amazon just bought MGM?
Yes, they did.
So why can't the son of Oracle buy Paramount? And moves in, and hey, here's the deal everybody's happy with. In the last minute, Sherry Redstone's like, no, I don't want to sell. And who knows what the end motivations are there. Superficially, it looks like because she had to fight so hard to get back in after her father willed her out in rich white people drama.
Very sounds like an actual succession issue, right? You have a
group
TV
of people, show, yes.
That group of people who now own something cosmically powerful, but are completely unsuited to the task of wielding it in a responsible way. And boy, howdy,
could responsibly wield billions of dollars. So all that stuff's just kind of destined to failure. Just is it big enough for it to ruin the company in the process? And I think under Sherry Redstone, the answer is yes.
I think I could definitely have run Paramount better than Sherry Redstone. Okay, I'm gonna go way out on a limb, and I'm going to say that I have enough, or knowing nothing of the production of film or television, that I could do a better job than Sherry Redstone. I think you could too, by the way.
I appreciate your vote of confidence.
You're welcome.
And I'm confident that you would be able to run it because you would have had the wherewithal to say, hey, here's this pot of gold we have called Star Trek. And from action figures to commemorative plates, this fucking thing has made this company cash hand over fist since 1960, whatever.
Despite ourselves, despite our best efforts sometimes to choke it to death, it just keeps coming back and wanting to shove money in our pockets.
Even when we're not even actively manufacturing content and they're just blowing through reruns on Netflix as the creator intended, right? That's all the stuff was made for syndication and just to go out and shop it to a third-party network and let it go. And it is able to just run in perpetuity, and all of a sudden people are putting eyeballs on Voyager, and Next Gen's always a killer, and DS9 is obviously great. We're selling action figures and this and that. Great. Don't fuck with the formula. And they bring these two yahoos in. They fuck with the formula. Again, I still like the J.J. Abrams movies. I know a lot of people don't, but they were innocent enough. Like they were fun action movies if that's what you're looking for. And if you wanted deeper stuff, you got the whole back catalog. But then you start getting into Discovery and we get crotchety and old. And it's well justified. And they just fuck the IP into the dirt. Why did they not jettison these clowns? What kind of contracts were involved? Who knows? But they continue to let them fuck the corpse of Star Trek into the dirt. And despite their best efforts, a couple good seasons here and a couple good seasons there. Prodigy season 2, which I still have to get through Prodigy. I keep forgetting. Once it gets cold outside, I don't have like the temptation of being outside with the kids.
Right.
I'll buckle down on Prodigy, but Strange New Worlds had its moments. I like Lower Decks, Picard season 3 Against All Odds. Right?
Absolutely.
And now Skydance is here. Remind me, I want to talk about the Star Trek experience over at Universal Studios. I want to tie into that. But
yeah. I saw that news.
So Skydance comes in like Santa Claus with a big red sack full of cash and says, we're buying this thing. You're $6 billion in the hole. Was that what that is? They had to do a cash injection of $6 billion. We're shutting down your entire production studio for television.
By the way, this is why they got the price they got on it, because you were having to assume so much debt. I mean, think about all of the IP that Paramount owns. How many incredibly iconic films are in that catalog? And think about the fact that they really the value of the assets of the company was like $4.7 billion. Not very much. Not very much at all.
I'm surprised you didn't buy it yourself since you're looking to get into the industry.
I mean, obviously, I've got that just flying around. But when you think about acquisition, like company acquisition, that's not very much money. That's like a bad day for Elon Musk.
They had to write off and devalue a big chunk of the company. So Skydance gets in. They go, all right, we are paying the bills now. This is our money. It's time for there to be accountability. One of the questions they ask is, why is Kurtzman still here? Bad blood between Kurtzman and Skydance. They did some sort of collab. Secret Hideout poached a lot of staff from Skydance, and I guess that's a grudge that's been festering. So writing's been on the wall that Kurtzman's going to go. And from what I was seeing in the grungy little nerd gossip sites was that Skydance wanted an immediate abortion on Section 31 for a tax write-off. And they also wanted to stop Academy before it entered production because it's harder to recoup funds and basically financially salvage that thing. And if they would have been able to put the kibosh on it before they started filming, it would have been easier. I think they've since started.
Yes.
So missed the boat on that one, but I would like to see all that stuff aborted. There was talks that Paramount had secret test screenings for a new Star Trek franchise set in the 24th century adjacent to Next Gen DS9, which I'm fucking there for.
Absolutely. I would be willing to give that a spin for sure.
I will give anything
the direction that obviously it's where they should have started with this.
I will give anything Skydance puts out Trek wise that's a fresh in-house Skydance a fair shot. I'm not a black-pilled consumer, and I'm willing to give these things a fair shake, because even under Kurtzman, again, they've touched on greatness. Picard season 3.
Yeah. No, and we've talked to death exactly how it is that was possible to happen, which was a very rare confluence of events that has happened in Trek before, Enterprise season 4. Ironically, where Terry Matalas got his start really as a creative.
Oh, the Disney employee Terry Matalas? That ship has sailed, Joe.
I know.
It's gone.
I mean, good move on his part, right? He was there. He was patient. He waited for the opportunity for his shoulder to be tapped, Everyone thought it was going to happen for sure, given it was the only certified banger they had produced from a ratings perspective. And Kurtzman held the grudge until he took a huge offer to work for Mother Mouse. So I salute him. I respect him. Good for him. He's not the only one who could make Star Trek, right? Like, it's not that it was all up to him, but I get why he couldn't afford to allow those opportunities to pass through his fingers in the hopes that someone would do something about Kurtzman. But all of that said, your summation's amazing. I am very much convinced that Section 31 movie may be too expensive to cancel because they put out the trailer. So they can't write off the entire costs of it anymore. It's a key moment in movie promotion. Before you issue official promotional material, you are not considered typically of having gained any kind of reputational benefit from the production of the product in question. This comes back to a topic I swear I will not bore you all with, which is how do you do tax accounting for an asset that is represented by a creative item? So the idea here is, what, like your building costs, if you build it, you put bricks there, it's a physical thing you can touch. It's easy to assess its value. What is a movie worth, right? What is this thing you've made? And how do you quantify its value so that you can assess your assets? What does it mean to own Star Trek? What does it mean to own Star Wars? And you boil it all the way down to these individual projects, you get an economic benefit from the process of promoting and talking about projects that are going to be released at some point in the future. And so once you cross that line, it becomes more difficult to gain a tax benefit from canceling it. So there's more to be gained from canceling, say, the Starfleet Academy show, because that hasn't done anything yet except just start filming. Section 31 has been fully promoted. There's this trailer out. You're probably going to only get to impair the asset, which is less valuable. So I think we're damned to the Section 31 movie, even if Skydance doesn't want it to see the light of day. They can shovel it onto Paramount Plus. They will reap whatever reward they can get at a watch time from it, and then do what they did with, like, what was it, Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies, or Willow, or some of this other stuff they made that eventually impaired off the service.
I will give them all the respect in the world, and I would say it would be overwhelming fan service if they did just throw the fucking thing in the trash, because there have been such big stinkers that have hit the screen recently. Borderlands, I'm looking at you for starters.
The Crow. I had a fucking existential crisis when the Crow remake trailer crossed my eyes. I just about fucking died. I couldn't believe it was real. I was like, this is evidence that life is a simulation. It's the only way something this bad could be allowed to escape whatever fucking hell dimension it came from.
Aquaman 2. I mean, there's just bomb after bomb after bomb hitting it. And yeah, you can recoup funds, and throwing an entire movie in the trash is going to hurt. But at some point, you got to look and say, what damage is this doing to our reputation? How many years back is this going to set our franchise? Like we talked about the Section 31 thing, that's not going for theaters. It's going to go to Paramount Plus, or whatever Paramount Plus becomes, which I think if Skydance was smart, they just shove all that shit back onto Netflix and get it back in front of real eyeballs.
Oh, and it'd be much less expensive. I think we've talked about that. Like, just get a banger licensing deal and move on.
Maybe you can just filter the Section 31 movie off onto your online streaming platform that no one's going to watch, and nobody will watch it, and it won't really do that much damage. But yeah, if they just shit can this stuff, I'll be pretty impressed. All right, we're about to hit 15 minutes. I want to say real quick, Universal Studios, what is the relationship between Universal and Paramount?
Well, I guess Paramount no longer owns theme parks, because they used to own, Kings Dominion, Kings Island, all of that. They own the a bunch of parks nationwide, and then they sold pieces of it off. Some they sold to Six Flags. Some, like Kings Island, got sold to Cedar Point. But I think that depending on the individual park, some of them have different licensing deals and that sort of thing.
But Universal Studios as a movie studio, right?
Correct. And what I'm saying is Paramount doesn't have a partner for doing things related to their IPs in an amusement park. They're not doing them on their own. So, why not go to Universal and say, can we partner with you to do some kind of event?
Well, that's what they're doing. So the Universal Studios Hollywood, Universal Studios throws really intricate, well-produced Halloween experiences, haunted
Yes, they do.
house, haunted weekends, whatever.
We're going to
They're putting
Universal Studios Japan for their, and we're going to go to what they're going to see what their Halloween setup is there.
What are you going to do if it's so scary you die? Give your will setup.
Make sure you take care of your affairs before you go experience that.
Listen, I see these Japanese pranks.
Yeah.
You're liable to fall through a trapdoor, down a slip and slide covered in KY with dinosaurs chasing you, and then I'll end up in an office where it looks like a missile falling through it's how I don't understand
that you're
law
have a heart attack
in Japan.
You're 41 years old. You're obese. Do not go to Japan in October. You will die of a heart attack.
Just make sure I got the password. So
I got you. Don't worry. It's got to live on without me.
They're doing the Star Trek experience. It sounds, I don't know, they haven't even put anything out, but it's like Back to the Future. It's Star Trek. They're tapping these IPs they should have been touching a long time ago. I mean, they're already doing this Ghostbusters things for Halloween weekend, but I am very excited for some in-person Star Trek experience stuff. Hopefully they pick 24th century next-gen burgundy outfits.
Did you ever get to go to the Star Trek experience at Las Vegas?
It's the biggest shame in the fucking world.
Yeah.
I
got to go to it twice. It was good.
Good.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention that just to jab the knife in.
Closest I got was dragging a man through hell on eBay over some of those uniforms they sold out of Star Trek experience.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
And speaking of stories being told.
Oh, hey, that's a great bit.
Here we go. Let's go.
17 minutes. Episode 1. I'm sorry. Season 1, episode 15.
14.
I'm in the wrong thing. I'm in progress. No. Yep. Episode 14, season 1, The Storyteller. First aired May 2nd, 1993. I was 11 years old when this thing came out, Joe, on the day.
Oh, my God.
Teleplay by Kurt Michael Bensmiller and Ira Stephen Bear. Big name there. Story by Kurt Michael Bensmiller. Directed by Old Man Dave Livingston. How funny that we talked last podcast about how they don't really do the captain's log star date thing on the intros. And here we are, the very next episode, rolling in with a station log.
This episode is a classic A plot, B plot, right? This is returned to a format that as an ensemble show, they have to use as much as possible, right? They've got so many people to put on this fucking show. They cannot afford to do too many episodes where it's just two of your guys and they're the only ones in it, right? So we're gonna split the runtime, and we're gonna do two pairs of friends, right? This is the framing device. Is we're gonna have the budding bromance of Julian Bashir and Miles O'Brien, as well as Jake and Nog learning to rizz up a local Bajoran lady. And I kind of like that juxtaposition of this is going to be an episode about two pairs of friends getting up to adventures, and they're going to be radically different, obviously. But it allows you to reach out into the periphery of your players and kind of give them the spotlight, which I find a very refreshing approach after having watched a lot of Star Trek with you, where maybe they don't manage to do this as well as they should.
What do you call in the B plot?
I'd say the B plot is definitely the Bajoran negotiation on the station. You want to call that B and C, B and B.5? I mean, I think it's kind of just one plot, though.
One of them Cisco's involved in, and it's on the station, which would make me want to say that's the A plot. But I think you got to give the A plot where the most life is in danger. And certainly the surface of Bajor. No. Is that where they go? It has to be, right? Or is it a colony?
Yeah. Oh no, they go to Bajor. They go to
So
fucking
in a
Azeroth
runabout,
and they get into some fucking quests immediately.
so like we're gonna have to talk about Bajor in 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, we certainly do. We have a lot. That place has got problems.
But from Deep Space Nine to Bajor in a runabout is over 2-hour flight time.
That's what they said. I guess like if they just went at impulse and didn't use warp drive at all, because they had to move the station, if you recall.
And that's what I'm so Tarek Nor, that was in orbit over Bajor, so it could directly oppress and subjugate a population. They used fart thrusters and flew 3 weeks towards the wormhole to move them 2 hours away from Bajor in a runabout. What is a runabout? Warp 4?
Well, I think the assumption is that they did not use warp, which is why it took so long to get there. So sublight
Warp
speed,
5.
Let's assume that they had to travel and that this distance is, maybe it takes.
Still, that's an impulse on a runabout versus thrusters on a station. The space math ain't working out.
Go, Taryn, are you out there? We're going to subpoena your space math. It's happening. Tell us why. Tell us how far away it is.
If you thought 17 minutes talking about Paramount Plus acquisition was boring, just wait to get hit with the space math.
I did a whole thing on tax law. Taryn will still put you to sleep faster. We love you. It's okay.
Bajor. What the fuck? First of all,
it's fucking Azeroth,
all the Bajor.
Drop into the Eastern Kingdoms. Get your fucking quests in. Let's go. There's orc raiders on the mountain.
For being a place that was under the tyrannical thumb of the Cardassians, not to mention nonstop civil war or whatever, I've yet to see any depressed, bombed out, dilapidated cities on this place. It's all been beautiful Skeevian markets and idyllic countrysides, right? The Kai, whatever her name was with the Bat Cave, right? Cisco went down to go see her.
Yeah, Kai Opaka's Bat Cave, where he got his first orb.
Magic.
So
magic quest with magic balls. Here we are back down again. Another like fucking Red Ridge, beautiful village.
Right.
Not a whiff of Cardassian ghetto or slave camp or anything.
It didn't even look like Westfall. It was straight up Red Ridge. You're absolutely right. Looked scenic.
I might be turning into some sort of Cardassian occupation denier over here. I don't know what's happening right now.
Well, but more than just that it's ideal. It's like they show up and like, okay, there's a medical emergency, and I'm just like, driving the bus to take the doctor to deal with this medical emergency.
Well, jump back to even that. Like, O'Brien doesn't want to be there. He goes up to Cisco, the worst boss in the quadrant.
I mean, hey, O'Brien has earned this. I mean, it's like you're still working off that murder you committed there, Chief. You've got a little more time left of doing bitch work before I'm not going to be mad at you.
Maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe it's a resentment that O'Brien was gone for like 4 life-threatening events in a row.
Right.
Maybe like, Cisco feels like it should have been O'Brien stuck in the board game and not him.
Everyone talks about your work ethic, O'Brien, but you did take a bunch of weeks off right after taking a new job. Who does that? What?
I don't care how much PTO you racked up on the Enterprise. It doesn't transfer to here. O'Brien's like, listen, can someone else pilot this fucking thing? Because, like, I'm the chief guy of fixing shit. This is the first time in 14 episodes the replicators haven't been trying to kill people or arms getting cut off in elevators or whatever. Like, maybe I should just hang around just in case.
Yeah, look, listen, Commander. A few weeks ago, these replicators, they're trying to kill you. Now they're making pie. All right? That's what I do. All right? I make the replicators who almost murdered all of us and turn them into pie machines. Okay?
Yep.
Can you please give me a hall pass on having to be stuck with this pompous asshole doctor for how many fucking hours it's going to take to get him to and fro? Because apparently he never took training on flying a fucking shuttlecraft by himself.
because apparently I'm not going to bother going to warp, and I'm just going to stretch this out to 2 hours. Like that's kind of the backdrop of this conversation is you're stuck with them for 2 hours. You didn't have to be. You could have gotten there faster. Like this is a long con by O'Brien. Don't think that he's the victim here. And then like Cisco gets real shitty with him. I don't know. He did let him off the hook on murder. Maybe you're right. Like that's why Cisco's giving him such a hard time about everything. Like I had 4 people die in my hallways because of you. You are on the shit list. You got to dig yourself out of this hole.
That's why he was shitty towards Kira too when he was in the elevator. I mean, she's like trying to tell him that this negotiation isn't going to work. He's just like, I am so tired of your negative Nancy opinions. Like, you got useful things to tell me, great. Otherwise, please don't say anything. I'm very tired of you.
She should have been like, listen, why don't you check your fucking attitude as the person that just got my religious pope stuck on planet death? Maybe your opinion is not beyond reproach and you should like, I don't know, little conference here and there and take a little bit of input before we get more people stuck in a reincarnation hellscape. I don't know.
Regardless, Cisco sends O'Brien off to take Bashir to Bajor, but we're not kidding here. Right? Not only is Bajor only universally shown as a very pleasant and not bombed
South
out
Californian.
place, it is straight up a quest hub in Azeroth. Okay, we're making a World of Warcraft joke for a reason. People show up here, Starfleet officers show up here, and only the zaniest magical things happen to them. Right? So first, Cisco comes down, he gets handed an orb that makes him relive meeting his wife, and he's like just stuck with it and goes, all right, go figure out what that means. Ends up meeting some sort of trans-dimensional race that opened up a butthole that goes halfway across the galaxy. All right, that's already a lot to take in. Second time down, O'Brien gets picked to fight psychic battles against monsters that will destroy a village unless they use their positive thoughts to make it go away. This happened. This happened to them. Like, O'Brien can come back to the fucking station afterwards and go to Cisco's like, Commander, do you know that magic is real? do you know that? Like, because it's real, and I saw it. There was a magic there's a bracer. I think it's an epic. All right. It dropped off the guy like after he didn't like he got beaten PvP, you know, and just like it's real. Magic is real. It's real. It happened.
When Cisco goes, hey, open up that wooden box on my desk. See you in 40 minutes. I'll have some aspirin ready to go. And then, you know, Miles comes back like, oh God, I had to relive the Battle of Wolf 3-5, or not 3-5. That's Cisco's thing. I had to relive what would be a good Enterprise trauma for them to go through. I guess the first encounter with the Borg when they just got carved up, that'd be a pretty scary one.
Well, I was going to say, it's like, oh, relive the one time the Doctor really wanted to fuck the ghost, but I guess he wasn't really there. He wasn't there for that. That was like season 7, wasn't it?
I relived that one time an alien entity possessed my body and tried to hijack the Enterprise with Data and Riker and Troy.
Oh, I remember the time that my wife tried to cook me Japanese food. It was so terrible.
So, all I can wonder about Bajor is like, did the Cardassians encounter this level of nonsense while they were on the surface?
Is this why they left? I mean, how many times can you ask someone to go get 20 boar hides before they're like, I've had enough? I'm out of here. I'm tired of you people.
So, straightforward thing. There's an old man dying. They run over. Bashir's there under the impression the entire village is, you know, poisoned because probably an aqueduct or people are eating lead paint or whatever. No, it's just one old man. But if he dies, the whole city's going to die. I don't know what the actor's name is, but it's the same old man alien who super juiced Barclay's brain and let him like hijack the Enterprise and go to like warp 20 to go meet them because they were explorers and they learned by bringing people to them, right?
Yeah, and I would have loved it if like he had recognized him.
Oh,
he let Barclay loose with super intelligence. Just fuck this guy, shoot him.
Julian, trust. Oh, that's the other thing. Bashir's like, call me Julian, not. I like when he asks him flat out too, like, am I? That's the whole thing. This A plot The village story is boring. It's all about these guys broing, as far as I'm concerned. It's about these two forging a friendship, and what's very clearly Bajoran prostitutes.
Yes.
That's my interest.
There's
in
a
this
moment where they show up. That's true.
Sprinkle in a little Scott Baio understudy. I should have been the storyteller. That's all you need about the story. So,
let's not undersell it here, right? Old man, he winds up dying while fighting the dream monster, to the astonishment of our Starfleet officers, who do try to find like a scientific explanation for all of this that they kind of never get to.
Chimoya for those tricorders to pick up, though.
Can't really piece it together. It has to do with the whole orbs having magical powers, that the monster is a representation of their fears, and it's basically this feedback loop by which they have to confront it, otherwise it destroys them, because that was, the metaphor for them destroying themselves before they created this artificial construct to create a way by which they could confront their fears. Whatever, doesn't matter, kind of just right there in front of you. Scott Baio shows up to try and stab Miles O'Brien, and Miles O'Brien is the wrong person to try and stab from DS9. He tries to sneak in. He's got it behind his back. He's trying to make a move with it. He does not get very far.
There you are. I know you. You worked for the old Storyteller. Yeah, there's more hoes out here for you. All right, we'll bring him in. And then he foolishly tries to stab him in the back while he's standing in front of a mirror. Clearly, this part of Bajor doesn't have access to movies and know that's a terrible idea. So him and O'Brien are in like this standard self-defense overhead knife attack fight. And then Bashir shows up. And then it's 2v1 and they still can't overpower Scott Baio.
He's got that Bajoran super strength just in the stabbing motion specifically. No other time. It's only when you're doing this. It's why they're such great terrorists. They're very good at stabbing Cardassians.
They overpower him. They thrust him back and they go, all right, what's your story?
Well, they don't overpower him. It's O'Brien takes the knife from him. They do a very slick, like he falls off screen and you're like, where's the knife? What happened to it? And O'Brien's got it and he's pointing it at him. Like, all right, what were you trying to kill me for? It was bullshit.
O'Brien should have grabbed a bottle of wine and like busted it on the table and like got him like bar brawl style. Here's an important part of this plot point. This guy is the disgraced understudy or apprentice of the previous storyteller. He was called in earlier in the week to basically assume the mantle of storyteller, and he fails, and he's not able to channel the power of the goodwill of the village. And people get hurt in the process, and then the storyteller casts him away, and they call in for outsiders to pass the mantle on to someone else. Strike one, this guy can't do the job. He fucked up the job and people got hurt. Strike two, maybe a little bit more concerning. This guy is now an attempted murderer.
Yes. It's just escalated straight to that.
He did not approach the Starfleet guys. He did not go, hey, listen, guys, we got to talk. Let me peel back the curtains here. The monster is a fabrication that this con artist storyteller position created to make a mutual enemy to the village that could make us see past our racism or whatever the hell was driving us apart. And we could all have a shared enemy that would unite us in the glorious bonds of a Care Bear stare of friendship that dispels the evil and moves us past our differences. And we now have a beautiful village that Cardassian fingers apparently have never touched. And here's a remote control for the monster. You got to have it on your wrist, and you got to, I don't know, do some sort of Dance Revolution or Guitar Hero.
You got to position the mob in the right spot so that the cone doesn't hit the DPS, right? The villagers in the DPS.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to sit there and you just got to tank the thing, until such time as there's enough dots, everyone's hit their cooldowns. Absolutely. Simple job.
Doesn't give them any of that. Hey, Starfleet guys, here's science. Here's the science behind it. Let me empower me so I can take over again. No, this guy goes right to fucking trying to murder Starfleet officers.
Yes, he does. Without question.
Also, not very charismatic, real creeper vibes, some real RSO going on with this guy. That's my impression, right?
He definitely gives the impression that he would be too forceful at the wrong times.
The implication with this guy is all bad. So he tries to kill O'Brien.
Mm-hmm.
The fucking chief medical officer observes it and has to fight this guy off. Both of these guys have been on Deep Space Nine long enough that they forget that attempted murder means anything.
Right? How many times have they just seen just a hall pass for it? They're just like, all right, I guess we have your weapon. Now we can be cool. You would have murdered me 10 seconds ago, but we're over that now. We're past.
I can see at the end of the episode when they're on the 2-hour flight home from Bajor, free of the mantle of the storyteller, it dawning on O'Brien, that fucking guy tried to kill me.
That's bullshit.
That's Julian, bullshit. If it wasn't for you, I would have gotten probably stabbed in the neck and bled out like a pig on the floor. And then you would have come in and he probably would have killed you too, Julian. And we left this guy in charge of the safety of a village. Do you think we made where they bring
for the Prime Directive today, guys? Let's go.
Where they bring beautiful young girls, young 20-year-old Hollywood hotties with shit on their nose. They bring Bajoran hoes to please these people and shower him in gifts. And we've just basically left this Bajoran psycho, Patrick. I'm sorry, what's last name first? So this would be Bateman Patrick.
Yes.
Bateman Patrick, the Bajoran psycho in charge of the well-being of this. Did we make a catastrophic mistake?
I did like when the Bajoran hoe train comes in and he's stuttering his way through it. There's a lot of good shots where it's just Julian just looking over at O'Brien, be like, yeah, go ahead. Talk your way out of this. Explain why you don't want them. Tell them why you don't want them. A lot of fun dialogue between the two of them. He's just very flippant and kind of shitty with him, but in a way that's fun.
It is. Again, this is... I really like Bashir as a storytelling character, becoming the vessel for the audience and there for what the audience, which is goofy frontier shit and adventure, right?
Yeah, that's why you signed up for it.
Watching people squirm. They toned down on Bashir's horniness quite a bit because it's not like he's like, yeah, why don't you leave the girls? I'll deal with those, storyteller. I will enjoy them on your behalf. No, I like him basically seeing the entire plot for what it is.
Oh, right? Yes.
This dude sees okay, you're in charge. I'm going to jerk you around here a little bit and laugh at you. But clearly the end of the fucking breadcrumb trail here is that we need to pass this mantle on to someone else. And, there's a disgraced apprentice. Clearly this whole thing with, O'Brien, this schlubby janitor, the space janitor being left in charge, clearly he's not fit for the job. Clearly you're going to have to step up to the bat and win over the hearts and minds of people in this dangerous con game that you guys are running on everybody.
Supernatural con game. They could not figure out the solution. Lots of tricorders, lots of analysis of what even is any of this? And they're we don't have solutions. Even at one point, I think Bashir even cracks wise, well, as far as we know, you weren't sent by the prophets, right? Maybe that's true. Who knows? Maybe
Boss believes in it.
Maybe this religion is the one that's correct. This is it. This is the one.
I just watched their old Pope come back from the dead. The more I see about Bajor, the kookier this shit is. Here's what the monster really is as I'm watching it. And again, I got to hair up my ass about your assessment of that last episode of Planet Rebirth Hell.
Oh, yeah.
Your willingness to let major catastrophic plot failures just fucking slide because they're trying to tell a story.
I let it slide when there's an attempt and it just fails, not when they don't try at all. I think there's a clear difference between the two.
I'm just saying they could have the best fucking researched institution. They could put Cold Station, was it 12? Right?
Yeah, Cold Station 12 was the one that had the viruses.
They could put that on there. Nobody would ever die. Right? This is the ultimate R&D planet. You put these things in, and I have to sit there and wonder, like, how could you power game this situation? How could you manipulate this plot to become a really great new technology that helps people, like, stasis pods while you're trying to fly back from the fucking
Some are
Delta
easier
Quest.
than others. Like, how would you power game the existence of a smoke monster fear demon
that shoots photon torpedoes from the fucking clouds and just kills people, apparently, right? Like, gee, if you've got the ability to wield power like that, and you coincidentally are being held under, like, Nazi occupation, you're telling me this grifter ass storyteller was like, oh, I could save a village of 96 people and help them see the power of friendship, or like, I'm going to take my smoke dragon and I'm going to rain hell on every fucking Cardassian I see.
right?
With
Why
my
the hell
nightmare machine.
isn't he like standing on a hill outside a Cardassian detainment facility and like casting curses in its direction as the smoke monster starts shooting fireballs at it?
That's what I would do if I had that fucking
Yeah, exactly.
thing.
Like, how it would be so like 40K, like you're just like
Yeah.
summoning a creature from the warp. start throwing bombs at buildings nearby.
A warlock with your fucking sky demon, man.
Yeah, it's true. It's a warlock and it's your summoned pet. What am I even thinking?
Instead, this guy's out in the sticks, snake oil selling con man, tricking a village into believing that he is someone who is very important and deserves bushels of grapes and hoes. This is a terrible situation. Who's going to move into this village and find out that, oh, hey, by the way, every year a fucking smoke demon comes out of the forest and like nukes us unless we care bear stare it.
I love the views from this villa. I love the school district. The rent is so cheap. Rent. What is going on with this place? Is it just that it's new and people don't know? It's like, it just came on the market, and there's a giant smoke demon that comes over here. I'm sorry, what was that last part? What'd you say? What was it? Was that?
I can't help but notice there's no old Cardassian garrison, and all of the signs are only in Bajor. There's no signs hanging up in Cardassian. Like, what kind of tax am I paying that you guys had such a quick turnaround on like civic rebranding? Oh, the Cardassians never occupied here. Well, why not? Well, once a year, Hell Week comes around. Oh, is this a Greek village? Is this a fraternal? No, it's a literal Hell Week. The smoke monster. Okay. Who is staying there? Who has it not occurred to be like, I'm trying to raise a family, and the storyteller, he's solid, but he's getting up there in age.
Well, here's where we should move. You could have made a very slight change to the plot, and it would have made it very cool instead of very weird. Is that the smoke demon was the thing that kept the Cardassians away? Like, that it was a real thing that they encountered, that he could, in fact, conjure it to drive them away with its supernatural powers. But in order to keep it energized and capable of keeping the Cardassians away, it required this ceremony. And the problem, of course, is they're playing with fire. They fuck it up, it attacks them because it's an actual entity. You take it away from magic, obviously, if you're doing this, and instead this is a real like creature that has a strange form of existence. And
the storyteller's like a Pokemon trainer.
Yeah, basically. And that this bracelet that they came across that has a piece of the power of the orb is sufficient to contain it in some way and permit it to be used in this fashion. And
Joe, what's the most important thing that you have in your life that's not a person?
And yeah, I would probably say my wedding ring.
Have you ever lost your wedding ring?
I have misplaced it temporarily, yeah.
Could you imagine this guy, this fucking storyteller, shitting blood if he misplaces that bracelet? Like, oh no! Oh no! Oh,
God, no! Where's the bracelet I like to wear? Oh, I don't know. Where is it? Did they get lost somewhere in the laundry or something? We'll find it, honey. Might be in like a drunk drawer somewhere.
Hell Week's next week. Get the magistrate. Magistrate, I need you to line up everybody in this village. And we're going to start shooting people in the head until this bracelet comes out. Why is the bracelet so important? question the storyteller. It's very important that I have that for Hell Week, or we are all going to die. So whatever blood we spill, executing children, or whatever we need to do to get this fucking thing. I told you should have put an air tag on it.
They show up in this dystopian hellscape. People have been murdered. People are trying to find this fucking thing. We're not ready for that. It's not even season 7 yet. All right. We're in goofy, happy DS9 where you just show up and then suddenly, just the quest notifier, it hits immediately, 10,000 experience, 20 gold. Go get it done, boys.
I love your idea about the monster having kept the Cardassians at bay. And I think that's really a story that deserves to be told, that there are places on the magical continents of Bajor, Bajoraroth, that the Cardassian occupation just couldn't reach because of this legacy technology / magic had created such weird situations that they weren't willing to stick around and just turn to blind.
Yeah, that they're remote, that they're not economically something they want to exploit anyway, so fine.
And that would be great motivation. Like, yeah, we're willing to deal with Hell Week because the Cardassians were never here to
oppress us. Right.
And that's why we stayed here, is because, I don't want to move away into bombed out Cardassian ghettos. Anything else on the A plot worth talking about?
No, just they solve the problem the most predictable way possible. And for some reason, this is something that O'Brien wouldn't talk about. I don't know about you. I would talk about this. I would talk about nothing else. Every person I know would know every detail if I went through this experience.
Maybe it dawned on him that leaving an attempted murderer, as far as that guy may have actually committed real murders too. Who knows? I certainly would not. Was that guy did he play a space trucker in Enterprise?
Oh, let's see here. Hovath was this character's name. Let's take a look. Lawrence Minoson is the actor's name. Oh my god. Oh my god. Bro, you nailed it. Not only did this guy play a space trucker, he played the space trucker from Fortunate Son, the one where they fucked with the Nausicaans.
The good one.
Yes. This was the guy from that one. Oh, yes.
I felt the Scott Baioness coming off. His Enterprise performance, way more charismatic and less like, this guy's always a fucking attempted murderer, man.
Yeah, like, we loved his Enterprise character because he was the captain, or he was kind of like the replacement captain or second officer who had become in charge because of the captain's incapacity. That was the one who was very pro go fuck with the Nausicaans and holding them hostage, and kind of sort of tried to kill a bunch of the Enterprise crew and some other. He got some shenanigans. He did some things.
See how I did that? See how I pulled that out of my ass because the memory elf is so daunting to look at. Yeah, that's why O'Brien doesn't want to talk about it. It dawned on him like, we've made a terrible mistake, and that guy's going to hurt people. I'm going to do the commanding officer here a favor, and I'm not going to actively tell anybody. But then this prancy fool is going to go run his fucking mouth, and Sisko's going to hear 10 words out of the story and say, you left who in charge? And it's going to be Julian's fault and not mine. So have fun hanging yourself. That's all he was doing there, was giving him rope to hang himself.
Hey, the ranking officer involved was in fact Julian Bashir. Please enjoy the consequences.
B plot is there's negotiations that need to happen, and for whatever fucking reason, they've decided it's going to be Benjamin Sisko that does a land dispute between some Middle Eastern grudge.
Right. Couple Bajoran tribes.
Since he is responsible for the death of Bajoran Pope, they're like, well, fuck you, buddy. You can deal with this kind of shit. This is the stuff she would have dealt with. We're going to ship her up to your garbage station, and you can host us. And one of them, the delegates, is a guy who likes replicator pie that, Geordi said tastes like melted plastic. And the other one's an attractive 20-something.
I understand the attempt of trying to have the young lady read as similar in age to Jake and Nog, but she's just a little bit too much older, particularly than Jake, for it to totally work, particularly when they're seated together and you can kind of tell. But I liked the overall idea. Jake and Nog are teenagers. They're interested in girls. A attractive girl has shown up. Nog is particularly interested in them. But Jake plays along, kind of maybe interested in himself. They're trying to rizz her up. They have mixed results, but mostly success. And they are, of course, accidentally also helping Commander Cisco deal with the problem at hand by convincing her that he's a person that she can confide in and get direction from in order how to solve this land dispute she finds herself in.
I like her duality. I like that she doesn't like the person she has to be and kind of indulges the person she wants to be on the other side of the coin, to the point where she is so rigid and shitty and self-conscious that like she throws the drink in Quark's face when he says young lady or whatever. Like,
yeah, she's got a chip on her shoulder over her age. It's a hereditary position that they reveal that these village chiefs have. And so she has been forced into a leadership role because her parents are dead. She provides an interesting kind of spot when they talk about present fathers and parents as a group. And obviously she's befret of that and kind of has an opportunity to bond with Jake and relate. You know, his own mother died in an attack with the Borg. But if you're absent of a father figure to turn to in this sort of circumstance, mine's a good one and you can turn to him. So they make it work pretty well.
I really like that line. She's like, does it, talking to your dad help? And Nog's like, no.
Jake says yes, and then Nog says no.
Yeah, I like the real talk there. She knows that Jake is Cisco's kid, and she's kind of putting up with their nonsense at first because she needs insight into Cisco as a negotiator.
Right. You see the wheels turning in her mind of why she entertains these two younger guys, obviously kind of like being all interested in her, you know?
Mm-hmm. I like that there's no guards on her at all. This is a terrible Bajoran tradition of sending your leader guy to Deep Space Nine without any sort of escort or guard. It didn't work out good for Kaiopaka. Luckily, it works out nice for this lady. I like the crux of the argument there that whatever their ancient agreement is that this river is a territory line, and the Cardassians, in their fucking with Bajor, changed the flow pattern on this and basically stole 20 kilometers of land from one tribe to the other. And that's the silliness that they're dealing with here, is like a literal interpretation of this old treaty. And it's really Nog in the end who kind of saves the day with his Ferengi greed.
Yes.
Quoting the rules of acquisition at her.
Just because you are going to give something up does not mean you have to not get anything in return. A little give and take, a little basic 101 negotiation tactics advice. But Nog is the right person to have that come out of in this circumstance. I love the interplay between Jake and Nog. That Jake's just a little bit more confident, right? He's not intimidated by the concept of talking to a girl. He's he's comfortable with himself and flashing that charisma in a way that Nog isn't capable of.
How could you not have that kind of granite self-confidence going out into public wearing these fucking leotards they have cursed this poor boy in?
It is some of the most unfortunate civilian wear you will ever see in all of Star Trek, and we've seen some bad stuff. He looks like an overgrown extra on some godforsaken season of Sesame Street. I don't know what to call it.
How could you be Cisco and be like, son, what are you wearing?
You appear to be wearing...
Why are you wearing a unitard, a leotard, really, that is lime green neon, and also the legs are tiger striped? Like, go put on real clothes. This is a rough and tumble part of the galaxy. I'm sure there's pedophiles here, and I cannot have you walking around in skin-tight outfits, son, please.
I mean, obviously they stopped doing this pretty soon, right? This is kind of like,
thank God. What are they going to put him in next?
More the kind of, I guess we'll call it real Starfleet civilian clothing. So if you remember from Voyager, the civilian clothing game improved somewhat. You still had discount African King outfits from Neelix, don't get me wrong, but there was some like sharp sort of, call it jacket and vest sort of combos that were happening,
Medieval villager. Well, I'll take that over child and spandex.
Yeah, it's still not good, but it is not as bad as this.
This is Jake's American Gladiator phase.
Hey, that's not bad training to have in a universe where that kind of fight can literally happen if you fall in love with a Vulcan. There's practicality there to get good with those sticks with the weights at the end. I'm saying, you never know when the Caliphy's going to happen.
Yeah. So, in hanging out with Jake and Nog, Nog turns her gun again to the rule of acquisition. Like, maybe you guys can both win. There's a celebration that it, results in Nog stealing Quark's code breaker sticks. And I was like, oh, cool. They're going to go get drunk or something. Or they're going to go in the holodeck and have fun. Or anything that is not, we're going to go find the chief of police, steal his bucket that he lives in. Odo lives in a bucket. And that's going to be our fun as like petty theft bordering on hate crime.
I understand they wanted to build like childish hijinks into this episode to like show Nog and Jake's, their youth, their immaturity relative to the person that they're trying to woo. And there is like a funny joke here about, okay, I'm going to make you think I accidentally spilled, Constable Odo on you, right? But it's really oatmeal. Haha.
You got Vox Sola all over me. Oh my god!
But just to make it trivial for the local Ferengi teenager to break into jail, like the security office, where the weapons I think are, like he just gets in. Let me take the cop's bucket and pull a prank with it, just in broad daylight with witnesses everywhere. Bizarre.
It's dumb.
It's dumb. I get it, but it's stupid.
I wish they would have capitalized a little bit more that she had been extremely standoffish and borderline hostile with Commander Sisko. And in committing this stupid crime, it gives Sisko a clear upper hand over her and like uses that to like bring down the wall and get her to like act on the trust and stuff that Jake's been building up. And it's kind of there, but they could have cleaned it up. Really, that bucket thieving scene is the low point of the episode. And the fact that we got the bucket scene instead of them giving us a scene where, yes, the smoke monster keeps the Cardassians away is a real shame. I also want to jump back over to the A-plot. Everyone in this village is extremely stupid.
Yes.
Starting with the Magister.
Everyone acts like a literal NPC. So this comparison we're making continues to make more and more sense as time goes on. It's like they're on tracks. Like when O'Brien attempts to like to like jump over what the quest progression that he's on, it's like the NPC immediately shows up and yells at him, like corrects the matter, and then he's back to like, oh, I'm very happy. Would you like more hookers, please?
Yeah, no. You cannot let the guy who trained for 9 years be the storyteller. You, a Starfleet officer outsider who does not want this position and has no self-confidence, you must be the one who's in charge. Just a village full of dummies through and through. Very different than the view we get of this very serious girl who is seemingly eager to go to war over 20 kilometers of land. Sure enough, she goes in, hey, we'll cede that land to you without any objection. give us river trade access. Like they're shipping stuff by boats. It's a world where there's transporters and flying cars.
What, were you playing Settlers of Catan? Get the fuck out. You want some sheep next? Get the fuck out of here.
You want some wagon wheels or yokes in exchange for 600 pounds of buffalo that I killed in my computer science class playing Oregon Trail. I would say this was a meh episode. Like, I'm there for the Bashir Julian friendship beginnings, but the rest of this is
the fact that Chief O'Brien experiences a supernatural to his mind experience attempting to wish away a smoke demon using the power of positive thinking, and then choosing not to mention that to his boss might be my weakest shit of the year. Like, I know your weakest shit was Death Planet. Mine might be magic is real. I watched it happen. A monster was defeated by the Care Bear stare, and I don't want to mention it. Like,
shout out, by the way, to the Discord group for rightfully calling out Odo getting knocked out by a falling rock. I can't for weakest shit. That's a good
call.
There.
That's a very fair call on their part. I shout out to the Discord for just being super active lately, by the way. We've picked up all of their folks that I think that were in the YouTube comments, slaving away, doing God's work as they go back through our back catalog, as extensive as it is, and putting some engagement down, which I think further, helps the algorithm. So thank you very much to everybody doing that, and please continue. But I'm glad we got them into the Discord so that all of that can be shared with the larger group. It's nice to see things continue to grow.
Seeing people file into the Facebook group as well. So, all right. Speaking of filing in, we're going to file into episode 15 of season 1, Progress. Kira leads the evacuation of a Bajoran moon, which is being converted into a massive power plant that will render the entire surface uninhabitable. There's no Bajoran EPA, clearly. But an old farmer refuses to leave.
It's got that Bajoran eminent domain, too.
Mm-hmm. Back in the station, Jake and Nog set out to turn an inordinate amount of seemingly worthless condiments into So this is a great, dire straits for one people, and Dr. Flox's wife is horny.
But at least it works a little bit better here when you have the two things physically separated from each other, right? You got some adventure on Azeroth where someone's going to complete a quest, and meanwhile in DS9 actually normal things are happening for a change.
Yeah, on
we're trying to sell condiments, trying to riz up a
Jake
local
and
lady.
Nog. Jake and Nog clean out the junk drawer. What are we going to do with all these soy sauce packets? I don't know. Do you have an eBay account? All right.
It's unimpressed, but we will continue next week. See you then.
That's going to be the Dominion War. They'll be like, God, sucks. Everybody's dying. Remember that time we tried to sell all that expired mayonnaise? Those were the days. Those were the days.